Hello and welcome. Is all the talk of empowerment for women just lip service? Isn't it about time that the talk stop outweighing the action? Well, a lot of that and more is what we're looking at over the next half an hour. Special panel with us. Dr. Hindu Sahni is the former sheriff of Mumbai with us, as is Bachi Kakaria, senior journalist, actress Pooja Bedi, and of course, Alec Padamsee Admin with us. Well, let's get started right away. Dr. Sahni, first to you. You know, I was reading that you say that the best way to get empowered is to empower others. A simple and effective message. But do you believe it is just the fact that this is how it should be done? This message is what we fail to get out there. Is that one of our biggest failings?
I think the best way to empower others is to empower them through education. That's what I've been experiencing in college and in my years of my range of experience in the college education and meeting young girls. One of the important things I've seen is the performance of the young girls in colleges. And I've gone around colleges in India, all over, and I've seen that if you look at the merit list of the top 10 in any of the courses, and especially in my colleges, I see it, out of the top 10, if not all top 10, at least 9 are girls. And I think once they're doing so well at the college or maybe in schools, what happens later?
So many would of course say that education is one way to get empowered. But Bachi, at the same time, we see each time there is an attack on a woman, there are so many people out there, men and women, who are empowered, who are educated, who will stand up and say, what was she doing there? Why was she there? What business did she have being there at that time of the night? So does education always lead to empowerment?
Well, no, I think it's not just education, it's the whole milieu that the girl comes from. And yes, this has been a very big issue that even women, don't stand by other women. Because, you've had politicians like Sheila Dikshit, who at the time that TV professional got murdered, that what was she doing there at that time? In the most important Nirbhaya case, there was always that same issue. What was she doing there? What was she doing with a guy? I mean, you go with a guy and you say you're protected, and then you're not. The same thing at the Shakti Mills case. If the girl went along with her colleague for protection, then, what was she doing then? A photojournalist has to be in an area like that which provides ambience and atmosphere. Then do you say no? A photojournalist, a woman who's a photojournalist should only go to flower shows. I really think that women must now begin to stand up and take charge of themselves. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
How many of you, will do a quick audience poll, believe that you have the power to do it? The women in the audience really believe that you have the power.
There you are.
Well, that's of course. Yes, we do hope that is.
One thing believing in it, the other thing doing it.
There's another thing doing it.
Not as easy as it's easy to sit here in
Easier,
a
absolutely.
studio and talk about women should be empowered and women raise their hands. I should be empowered.
Alec, you started that movement where you said that you were giving them, what was it called? Where they had the whistles and they had the
Izzat Ki Fauj. Yeah,
Izzat Ki Fauj.
The army of honor. Yes. The idea was to try and get men, policemen, to do sting operations with volunteer women and catch the man in the act and then publicize it.
But I just want to go back to one thing. All the people who raise their hands here are educated, right? They are from good colleges and great. So I come back to the point that it's an enabler. The starting point is education. Whether it's education, takeoff point is education. Whether it's right from the nursery right to these postgraduate colleges
and beyond.
That
Go ahead, Pooja.
I think what's also very important when we talk about education isn't just academic education. It's also educating them on their rights. It's educating them on the laws. Because when women know that the laws are on their side, they know which laws apply to them, what their legal position is on various things, when they know what their rights are as a woman. I think these things are equally important because even an uneducated woman can be told what her rights are.
But just recently, the UGC has come out with a report, and that's a great effort done by the UGC, just released yesterday, where they've tried to find out the security and safety measures of campuses around the country. And even the academics and educationists themselves are not aware of these rights for women. Most of the places they have written that yes, our colleges are safe because we've got a CCTV, because they've all talked about technological or, you know, this peripheral things, but not exactly how are the women empowered or what are the rights that they really have, or the colleges.
Or that they've laid down dress codes, and for them that means that's how they've
That's how
ensured security.
you make the environment
But I
safe.
want to make this one point that, you know, when you talk of empowering women, you know, you have to have, you know, you have to make the problem the part of the solution. So you have to involve men's groups as much as women's groups every time that you're talking about rights. Every time you're talking about any of this. Like I was talking to Gloria Steinem the other day, and she said it's really an issue that we've talked about here, that it's not just learning how you raise your daughters, but not that you raise your daughters as they were sons, but that you also raise your sons as if they were daughters.
The real point is, why have women prioritized the wrong priorities, or their fathers have prioritized it wrong? I'm saying, when I was in college, and that's in the 50s, yes, women were very, very put down. In St. Xavier's College, the percentage of women to men was about not even 25%. Today, it's almost equal. But basically, what today's woman, and my daughters, I have 2 daughters, and I brought them up in the way of saying, first, get a good education, get a good profession, get yourself a car so that you're mobile and you don't have to rely on boyfriends or fathers or brothers. Get yourself a flat so that you don't have to rely on anyone. And last, and by all means least, think about marriage. This whole matrimonial ads are defining women's space in India. Believe you me, they are. They're defining the space. And I say that's absolutely wrong. You should not allow that. Marriage is something that every Indian girl is told that she must get married.
Is the ultimate goal, really.
You must get married, therefore you must obey everything, and you'll have to obey your husband and this, that, and the other. We've got to change the priorities. If women said, like men say, I don't have to get married. I've been married 3 times, but I wasn't even, you know, I might get married a 4th or 5th or 100th. It's not important. My own future and what I do, and women should begin to think that they are not only equal to men, but they are individuals. They don't have to obey the laws of their parents, which is get married from the day they're born.
All that is changing. Like, you know,
No,
the whole pressure to get married, that's your eventual goal. You know, obey your man.
No, and sure. And I've seen that.
That is changing.
I've seen that from in the last few years. Usually it would be mostly boys who'd come to me, and this is the profession we are looking at. We want to do this when we go out of college. And now I see so many more girls coming over to me and saying, we want to start a business, we want to get into this profession. And definitely marriage is not the very first thing that they are thinking of.
Maybe
so
somewhere out there in the distance,
that
but
is
not
changing.
the immediate priority. Pooja, how do you see all of this? What is the one thing do you believe where we have failed or where we lack? Because there's been talking about it for a long time.
You know, the thing is, when you look at India, you have to see that we're a country that seems to be sort of multitasking multiple centuries simultaneously. It's almost like the woman in the parda who's there in a village is as Indian as a girl in a mini skirt in a urban part of, you know, India. Every ethos is different, and the good part is I see a trickle-down effect taking place where even the parda woman, the parda-clad woman in the village is today emerging as being somebody in her own right. Today, the very fact that you look around you, anywhere around you, and you see girls wearing what they want, studying what they want, voicing their opinions, the fact that we can have a show like this that debates it, and there are 4 women and 1 wonderful gentleman on this show. Just to give us the balance, Alec. And
the audience.
Absolutely.
Where's the balance?
And I think it's wonderful, and it's apparent all around us. Rome was not built in a day, and you cannot expect centuries of subjugation.
Taking baby steps.
You cannot, more than baby steps. You cannot expect centuries of subjugation to change overnight. But there are amazing steps being taken. I mean, if you look at the fact that from the villages upwards, all the way to say Kiran Mazumdar shows the richest woman in India with a whole empire below her. You see every single girl out there in the workplace, in the workforce, which was not a reality even 40 years ago. There weren't these career opportunities available to women. You could be a teacher, you could be an air hostess, you could be an actress, and I mean
the world of opportunities that you're saying really have opened
world of
up.
opportunities.
Right.
And
Yes,
of course, there are glass ceilings.
But go ahead. That's why we have you
the
here.
devil's advocate. No, Pooja, it's easy to say that.
It's
yes,
apparent. It's
yes,
around
working
us.
class women have always had jobs, whether they are sweeping the streets, whether they are cooking, but nevertheless, that in a marriage, it is still the man who dominates. Maharashtra, you take the statistics of married women who are beaten regularly by their husbands every night, and their husbands are drunkards and do nothing. The woman earns the money. The woman has the job, the man doesn't. He doesn't want to have a job because he can dominate the woman. Now, that hasn't changed. And what I'm saying at the basics, and I've given a lot of thought, I've been working on this issue, since 1980, is that women are still handcuffed to the idea of getting married, and therefore they're subjugated by men.
And
The day they give up the idea,
But they have done
they
that to
give up
themselves.
that idea.
It's many years ago, I'd met a very, very senior gentleman from our country, and he had said that the Indian woman is enslaved because of a hot pulka. Because she has to serve the hot pulka to the husband, so she's enslaved. When you talk about being enslaved.
Yes.
But
I
today,
want
But
to
quickly,
point
yes,
this point
and
on this
yes.
today
point
you have
I-
dual incomes
I
coming
want
in.
to know. I want to bring in this point, which I tend to need to bring in a lot of the time, is that you see a lot of empowerment. Okay, you live in a fancy building, you have single women in their flats, they're going out to work, they're in the financial sphere area, but at the same time, they are again enslaved really, the eyes of others are their cages, their thoughts, their prisons. It's a Virginia Woolf line.
I just want to say one thing. There's one thing to say, it's one thing to talk about women's empowerment, and there's a very separate issue, which is crime, and I think we should tackle those two things separately, because empowerment is something a woman is capable of doing for herself. Crime is something where you need the laws
Where she
and
may or may not be,
machinery
right.
to come
She may or
forward
may
and
not be
protect
empowered,
you.
but that doesn't mean that she's not going to be a victim of crime. Right.
Absolutely.
Just one
We have to
small
start
thing.
with strong fathers.
Right.
Fathers have to know that they are a daughter's best friend. And that's what I believe. If we change that attitude in this country, we will go forward. Otherwise, we'll never go forward.
Right.
The fathers have to empower their daughters.
And also the mothers who have to bring up their sons differently.
Yeah, but
Like,
the father has
you're not really...
The
you're
father
not
has the purse
last.
strings. The father has all the respect to the neighbors and so on.
But
It's not the mother.
just saying her point, at least you had to fight and get the FIR, but I would just say, I've taken people and I've got the FIRs filed, and the police have had the audacity to say, Navra nai marnar to kaun marnar. That means it's accepted that the husband can beat you.
Right, and that of course would echo anywhere in the country. Yes, go ahead.
As ma'am had said that out of 9 in colleges, 9 are girls. After college, they have to empower. But one thing is that marriage is the one thing which suppresses women.
Right.
Marriage is one thing.
Absolutely right.
So after
I
college,
would
if you try
agree
to
that marriage suppresses
Oh, it
you.
does.
Not
after
totally.
college, if
I
you
would
try
not
to
agree
empower
to
also
that.
marriage and social circle, family. These are the pressure which disempowers the women
I think
and
we
doesn't allow
cannot
her.
generalize.
I
Alec,
think-
I'm
No,
sorry,
no.
we
I mean,
cannot
who
generalize.
Can't generalize
Who
the
creates
majority.
mindsets? People create
99%
mindsets. So
of
it
this
is
country.
people that can therefore change the mindsets. You can't say mindsets have been, it's not like a big building that is there and it has to be broken down. Every single generation has its new mindset. Every single generation is capable of making that change. Every single person sitting here can perpetuate that change. And it is a
So you're saying
trickle-down
it's in
effect.
your hands and
It is very much.
It's up to you
every-
to
in your
you know,
hands.
and
Turn this
every
around. It's in
generation
your
is
hands.
okay. I'll give
Doesn't
you
come to your
I'll
hands
give you
at
a
all.
simple example. Your dadis probably never wore jeans in their lives. But they somehow gave the power to, say, your mothers to wear salwar kameezes and probably jeans, who then gave you the power to wear skirts and gave you the ability or the permission, if you want to use that word, to then change that dress code a little further.